Hi, Imam.
Hi, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you here. Do you get a lot of storm there?
Yeah, it's the seasonal dynamics, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of rain. I think the spring is playing hide and seek behind the winter is kind of coming and going.
Yeah. Well, I hope there is not any serious damage in your neighborhood.
No,
Um,
no. Thankfully, you're good.
Good, good. Yeah, we'll wait for a few more minutes as the crowd will gather here. But thank you very much for doing this.
No, thank you for joining. It's an honor.
I'll be introducing you today.
Perfect.
Well, I think it's a few minutes past the top of the hour. We should get it going. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining today's iGuide virtual consulting office session. My name is Xiaowen Wang from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I serve as the director of iGuide, which is an SF-funded center. I'm really pleased to introduce our today's speaker and expert in residence in the virtual space, Dr. Iman Hakiki, who's a lead research economist at Purdue University. And Purdue University is a collaborating institution as part of the iGuide Center. Dr. Hakiki conducts policy relevant research on the interaction of social and environmental systems, addressing major sustainability and resilience challenges regarding international agricultural trade, land use, water resources, and climate change. He studies food security and environmental sustainability by innovating, employing cutting-edge methods in coupling natural human systems, and is one of the original developers of the Simple G model, which I'm sure he'll share his insights with us today. Virtual Consulting Office is a regular series of interactive discussions happening nearly every week, and it's meant to foster explorations of new ideas and also sharing iGuide capabilities with the broader community and address cutting edge topics that will be of interest to the broader community. If you would suggest any topics for us to discuss, feel free to reach out, including today's chat. At any moment, please register your questions, comments, ideas in the chat whenever it's convenient for Iman. I'm sure he'll be happy to react and respond. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Iman. Again, this is supposed to be as interactive as we hope to make the session as a way of exchanging ideas and foster knowledge transfer. So don't hesitate to raise your hands or turn on your camera to engage with us. Thanks, Iman, and the floor is yours.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Shawan, for the introduction, and thank you, everybody, for being here. So, as Shawan said, my name is Iman, and I'm a research economist, but I'm working mostly in multidisciplinary context. The focus of this presentation is on a practical, validated, open source, and open access computational approach to resilience and adaptation. And as you will see, connection is the key point here. So I have structured this presentation into these sections, as you see here. We'll start by some definitions, and then I will give you some overview of the simple G model, followed by some examples. And we will cover the educational tools and computational tools. And if we have time, we go for a hands-on here to see how we can use these tools to address some of the resilience and adaptation questions. We start with the definition. So resilience, there is a diverse perspective on the definition of it, but overall, it is defined as the ability of a system to absorb the shock, adapt to change, and maintain the essential functions. It really depends on the context that we are looking at it. We should ask resilience of what, to what, and from whose perspective, and for what time period. In our case, we are going to focus on food system and environment. So in this context, food prices volatility from the consumer point of view is important, but from the farmer's point of view, the production and being able to cultivate and harvest is more important. In terms of adaptation, also there are a lot of different definitions. Some of the examples from the food system adaptation that we covered in one of our papers is change in production technology, for example, crop switching, relocation from one location which is under stress to another area, and also international trade. So the last two are linked to the connection point, the bridging between the systems. Before going to telecoupling concept, I like to talk about global to local to global analysis of systems sustainability. Resilience and sustainability are interconnected, and for looking at them, we need a multi-system approach. The problem is that the research on resilience and adaptation, they're always problematic in terms of they're either too disciplinary with a little bit touch of other disciplines, but mostly focus on one system, or some of them are too local, ignoring the connection to the global drivers and the dynamic feedbacks. Or some of them are too complex. There are a lot of different variables, a lot of different systems. They are not transparent enough. The approach that I am usually following is called global to local to global analysis. This approach First of all, we acknowledge that the global drivers are important for local resources. And then there will be local feedback, local decision-making, responses, and all of them can have some feedback at the global level. So this global to local to global analysis can help us understand the resilience and sustainability of different systems, especially for food system. For telecoupling, I borrowed some of the slides from my friend Nick Manning from Michigan State University. Telecoupling basically means if we have two systems, like human system and natural system, they are connected not only at a specific location, but also between different locations. So remote systems are also connected. When we are talking about remote connection, in terms of natural system, they may call it teleconnection, for example, in climate sciences. In terms of human system, when we are talking about remote connection, it is called globalization or international trade in economics, for example. But telecoupling means these systems from remote locations are interacting with each other. So we are basically combining coupling systems over a space. So geospatial aspect of the problem is also important. When we are talking about telecoupling, there are systems, there are flows, there are agents, causes, and effects. In terms of food system that we are interested in, a very, very simplified approach is that we have land and water from natural system that are connected to food system. The flows are usually commodity flows. If you produce something, crops, livestock products, you move it around the world. The agents are producers or consumers. And something happens in terms of environment, drought, they will have some implication for food systems. So that's the cause and effect. Or if we have more food demand, population changes, income increases, there will be more demand for land and water. So that will create a stress on land and water. So that's another cause and effect. Now going to the computational approach. So we are considering a model which is called Simplified International Model of Agricultural Prices, Land Use, and Environment. And it is gridded. As we talked about land and water and food, here you will see it's a basic concept of demand and supply. In the supply side of economy, you have land, water, nitrogen, fertilizer. Water can be groundwater and surface water. We can have labor input as the input for production. But we do the production, we model the production at the grid cell level. You may have 2 million grid cells at the global level, 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer resolution. These productions at each location are not only a function of local resources, but also a function of prices, regional prices and global prices. Productivity is important, technological improvement, investment in R&D is important. These connection to the global food market from population and income, as you see on the top dashed shapes, they will have some implication for food prices. So depending on the relative prices and comparative advantage, you may talk about exports and imports. So that connection between food and water and land is coming through international trade of commodities, which is a function of a lot of different things. Usually markets are adjusting based on changing prices, but all of those prices are coming from demand and supply factors. let's go for some examples of this. So how we apply this framework for resilience and adaptation. Example one, the question is, what is the implication of income, population, and productivity growth in the future for land and water resources? Imagine you have this scenario of changes in these global drivers. Look at sub-Saharan Africa, for example, huge change in population, or China, huge increase in income. The implication for groundwater resources in the US, for example, is illustrated here. What this figure shows is that in the future, around 40 years, we will have total factor productivity that reduces the need for groundwater resources, but also population change, income change, and also biofuel growth will increase the demand for groundwater resources in the United States. Another lesson from this analysis is that the changes in remote locations, like population change in Africa or income change in China, will have significant implications for groundwater resources in the United States. So that's one aspect of the connection that we are talking about. Now, imagine that the United States decides, hey, we are having a lot of unsustainable groundwater extractions. We want to limit the groundwater extraction to some sustainable level, something that reduces the groundwater depletion. We define that level as the rate of recharge. So recharge of aquifer means the amount of water that goes to the aquifer, the extraction annually. If that extraction is less than recharge, that means the groundwater depletion will slow down. What will be the implication of these changes at different locations? Well, because there is connection from one location to another location through agricultural markets, something happens in the United States will have implication for change in land use and production elsewhere in the world. So we solve one issue, which is the groundwater depletion in the United States, but it can create new land use, land stress, and water stress elsewhere in the world. Now, the question is, okay, what if all the locations in the world decide to restrict to the sustainable level of groundwater abstraction? All of them restrict the groundwater withdrawal to the rate of recharge. What will be the implication of that? Because, well, there will be implication from US policy. How about all the countries get to the conservation rate together? Well, because the unsustainable groundwater resources are very important in agricultural production, the immediate impact on global crop production is dramatic. 12% reduction in global production of crops if all the locations in the world go back to the conserved, sustainable level of groundwater. But that's the immediate impact without any adaptation, without any adjustment. Usually people change their decisions when there is a change in policy or economic conditions. For example, there will be substitution to other water resources, like if there is a surface water available, or if it's possible, we convert the irrigated production to rainfall production. You lose a little bit of production, but still production is possible. So those are adaptation at each location. So you could have substitution also with other inputs. You apply a little bit more fertilizer. You use better technology for irrigation. Another response from the system could be moving from one location to another location, because there are connections between markets. If there is price motivation for farmers, there will be expansion in other locations, as you saw in the US example. That's called relocation and global trade. If you look at all of these adaptation possibilities, at the end, the impact on global food production will be very small. So this process, if we ignore the adaptation process and the possibilities of market-mediated effects, you may end up overestimating the impact of or the damage from the sustainability conservation policies. Of course, when you look at the local impact of the production, the employment at the local impact, the employment impact at local levels are dramatic, but that's another question. Another adaptation example could be the compound extremes. Imagine you had COVID-19 compound with a huge weather shock. The maps that you see here, for example, rain-fed crop yields decline and surface water supply decline. So these are based on 2015 observed weather conditions. We combine 2015 weather with COVID-19 impact on economy. And then on the right-hand side, you see the impact on greenhouse gas emission and undernourished population by region. What does this figure show? You see, the blue bars are with adaptation. With adaptation, the increase in the decline in GHG emission is smaller, but also the increase in undernourished population is smaller. Something negative happens to the food system, there will be increase in undernourishment. But with adaptation, we can mitigate that. Without adaptation, that no adaptation one includes no trade, no groundwater and irrigation, no irrigation to rain-fed conversion. So those adaptation possibilities are important to mitigate the impact. All right, so I have provided one specific example here for people who are already bored of listening to those previous stuff repeatedly. Let's imagine there's a no connection cave economy at the global level. So the technical term for this is closed economy. It's an economic system that does not engage in exports and imports of food with other countries. I like to show one example here. If we have a cave economy or we have open economy on the opposite side, what will be the implication of a natural disaster? Which one is more resilient to a natural disaster? The disaster that we are looking at here is a reduction in crop yields in the United States by 25%. Remember, in 2012 drought in the US, the production reduction in the US was around 20% for corn, soy, even higher at some locations. You see the orange bars showing the cave economy impact, and the green one is the open economy impact for the US. Of course, if you don't have connection to the rest of the world, something bad happens in the US, 25% reduction in production. The prices go high, like more than 100% increase in prices. But if you have an open economy, you can import some of those crops from other countries. The price increase will be around 30%. That's for crops. For overall food prices, the increase can be in the cave economy around 25% increase, but in open economy, less than 10%. The same for consumption. The total crop consumption will not decline that much, that crop direct consumption by consumer. But food consumption will decline dramatically in the US when you have cave economy, almost more than double decline than the open economy. More interestingly, if you look at agricultural inputs, now because the yields are 25% lower, you need to feed people. And for that, you need more water and more land. In cave economy, you need to produce everything in the United States. The yields are lower, you need to expand production. In open economy, you can go and just import it from other locations. Of course, there will be some expansion in the United States in response to the prices, but most of the expansion is coming from outside of the US. Look at the cropland and water change when we have open economy. In the closed economy, there will be absolutely zero responses to rest of the world. So I didn't put the figures here, but when you have open economy, cropland in the US will expand, water use will increase, but also it's kind of distributed across all the producing regions in the world. So that way, of course, there will be a little bit more stress in other locations, but the economy will be more resilient in terms of food prices and consumption. So I like to stop here and see if there is any questions so far regarding the examples or any of the applications that we have so far. Then we move to the tools and educational tools and computational tools. All right. Okay. So we have this tool. How we can apply that? If you want to learn something about Simple G, these webinars and workshops and YouTube videos, you can look at them and just get some insights about that. But if you want to use it for your research, you may need to look at the Simple G book and take some of the courses. Of course, we are willing to collaborate with you if you have some interesting ideas and you are willing to start a collaborative research on that. But how to start learning simple? It's starting from a very simple equation. So all of the equations from the production side of simple are like this. So in linearized form, the growth in water use is equal to the growth in production of crops. And all of the right-hand side is the change in relative cost or prices of inputs. So imagine the crop prices go up, but if the cost of irrigation is going even higher than that, then probably you will reduce the amount of water you are using per hectare or per unit of production. The same for land. There will be a scale effect. The growth in land use depends on the growth in production, but also substitution effect, the relative cost of land to the crop price. Imagine this is the core equation of simple and simple G model. Now we have these equations for all of the grid cells, 2 million grid cells in the model, all of them land, water, fertilizer, labor, separately for groundwater and surface water or irrigation equipment. And then we connect all of these equations to regional food demand, global trade of food commodities. Computationally, this will give us a system of simultaneous equations with around 100 million unknowns, all connected, all highly nonlinear. It's impossible to solve. There is a package called GEMPACK. It's a program. It's Windows-based, but there are Singularity containers of that you can use for other systems. That is very efficient in condensing the model, solving it, and giving you the exact solution methods. So we use GEMPACK. We have this condensation method if you're interested. I can share you some more information about that later. But that is really important for solving the model. So you have seen some of those examples that we had for Simple G, but what are other examples and extensions? So currently we have different Simple G models. One is Simple G Land, which is focused on managed forest, grazing, cropland, conversion of all of these and protected areas. It is useful for biodiversity analysis. We have Simple G Water, with details about groundwater, surface water, irrigation technology, unsustainable groundwater, shallow groundwater, and how people make decisions about that at each location. We have Simple G for fertilizer application and nitrogen, which has specific yield response to nitrogen application, and it produces some outputs regarding nitrogen leaching to aquatic resources. There is Simple G labor, which is focused on farm worker and family labor, local migrant labor. And we have a module that talks about climate, so changes in crop yield or labor heat stress and the implication for overall food system, land and water responses to that. It's a multi-resolution and multi-scale system. So we have 30 arc minute, 15 arc minute, 5 arc minute resolution. So 5 arc minute is our default resolution. For a lot of the problems that we are studying, 5 arc minute is appropriate. But if there is something related, for example, to biodiversity, you may need to go to higher resolution. As a reference, this is called Simple G paper. So if you want to start reading and learning about Simple G, that's a short paper just to understand what is Simple G. But we also have Simple G book. It's open access. You can go download it. There are applications there, a lot of details regarding equations, how to model that, how to solve that, computational strategies. The codes and data are also available online. So if you go to this web page on Purdue GTAB, then you can see a lot of resources, the zip files of the code and output files for some of the experiments that we had. There is also a list of YouTube videos that you can go and watch. They are not as detailed as the book, but they will tell you about the content of the book chapter by chapter. So you can decide if you're interested to study that chapter for your research or not. For computational tools, we have an online in-cloud computation on MyGeoHub. So MyGeoHub is a gateway for having a lot of different tools, computational tools, and also data repository. We have GlassNet there as a project. A lot of the project meetings and seminars and webinars are there. But if you are interested in Simple G Jupyter Notebook, it's a computational online version, so you can define your experiment, run it. It may take 1 hour, 30 minutes, depending on the experiment, and then you can go and visualize the output here. And there is no license required for running this, just log in, and it's a free account, so everybody can create an account here. The coupling of Simple G, we have one successful example of full coupling of water balance model and Simple G. It's over time adaptive expectations, and you could see how we can improve the performance of both models, Simple G and water balance model, when we connect them. The way we connect them is through having singularity containers. So we have a singularity container for water balance model. we have a singularity container for simple G. So one from the natural system, one from the human system. And then we have two singularity containers for connecting them. So we translate the variables between these according to the definitions. And also there are differences in terms of temporal resolution. And the spatial resolution is the same. Both of them work at 5 ArcMinute resolution. And you can also use iGuide platform for visualizing some of the stuff and results from Simple G. It's not only for Simple G. You can see a lot of useful tools from different applications for data and running models. IPOMS is one of the recent ones that I have seen people are adding. Digital twins, there are stuff on that. You can see educational resources there. We have not added the Simple G educational resources here, but that's the plan to add it in the future. But one of the stuff here that you will see is Simple G Water Jupyter Notebook. And you see here, the notebook is connected to a publication. So notebook is more codes and data visualization. If you want to see how the analysis is done, you can look at the publication. There are links that it says how you can access these Jupyter notebooks and how to run them. I will show you one example quickly in a moment. So I'm going to go online and show you the example, but before going there, this is the workflow of running a Simple G experience. So you have a model code. You need to have a database and parameters and scenarios. So scenarios are usually user-defined, but there are default scenarios that you can select, like population change, income change, technical growth over the time period. Then you need a software. Is it Genpack on your own PC? You can download a free version of Genpack and run it for 6 months, I believe, or 9 months. Or you can use the MyJuha version. And then for visualization, you can look at the iGuide platform and see the results of those things. So what I'm going to tell you here is we are not going to compute anything that will take a long time, but we'll go on visualization and mapping. So if you want to go ahead and start, so this is the website that we are going to look at. So go to platform iGuide.io notebooks, and we will move from there. The second link here is Simple G handout. So if you want to see the step-by-step guide, you in the future you want to go back and run the notebook again and see more details about that, you can use that. All right. Okay, I'm going to switch. So this is, hopefully you still see my screen. This is iGuide platform website. So if there's any problem, please speak up. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to search for global groundwater. So you see there are different things, notebook, dataset, and publications for that. So the scenarios are here in the dataset, so you can look at the different scenarios. The notebook is the first one. I'm going to click on the notebook. When you open the notebook, first there's just some description about the notebook, who uploaded that, some tags. And then there is this green button here that when you click on run this notebook, it goes to the login page. So the way we run the stuff, you log in using CI login, and usually there are institutions based. If you have not opened an account, you can open an account based on your institution email, and that's it. It goes to that. Or I have this access CI here. Now, so the login process sometimes can be a little bit tricky. So if you have problems with that, please let us know. But usually it's very quick, less than 1 minute it takes to load the Jupyter Notebook, and it goes to the Jupyter Notebook server. The way I wrote this notebook is in R script, so it's not in Python. If you are familiar with R script, you can easily work with this, but it's well documented. And then let's see if we can see this here. So I have opened different notebooks here before. All right. As this is loading, let's go back to the other one. So this one, for example, it calculates a scenario that you can use for simple G. So labor productivity change due to heat stress. You look at different climate scenarios here. These are climate models, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree to 5 degrees Celsius warming. And then there's different sections that how to calculate those shocks and use it for simple G. So there are other things that you can use. All right. Okay. Okay. So this is the global groundwater conservation scenario. You have seen some of the examples in the presentation. Here's the summary. These are the acknowledgements, the funding institutions. And you see a little bit description of the simple G model and the scenarios here. And you see there is also description about file formats, because Genpack outputs are not always TXT files. There are HAR files, header array files, and SL4 files. There are different variables, outputs that we reported for this scenario: irrigation, groundwater withdrawal, surface water withdrawal, cropland area, crop production, nitrogen application, and employment index. And the way it works, here you see for each box, there are different commands. These are based on R, and you can run them and go to the next box. So the first one was loading the libraries. The second one, reading the scenario that you want. So as you see, there are multiple different zip files here. These are the pre-solved outputs of simple G, but you can add later if you solve something from the my GeoHub web page. You can add here the link, upload it somewhere else, and then read the files. So we have model name, simple G, the extension and module name, simple G water. Scenario name is GSP, it's a policy scenario, and parameter environment. So this is important because you can also change the parameter environment and parameter space to have some sort of sensitivity analysis of the results. The next one is just unzipping the experiment file and put it somewhere that we can read it later. And these are the dictionary that you can see different labels: water, land, labor, nitrogen, different scenarios, and different extensions and environment that you see. So the parameter environment here is based on the publication. So this one, ERL, Environmental Research Letter 2023, or Water International, or environmental modeling software. Then when you have that, it's very simple. You load different variables here based on the txt file that you have. The point is that you have 4 types of values for each variable: percentage change, pre-simulation, post-simulation, and absolute change. So you can change which one you want to extract from your data. Then report a little bit of the header of that. So the first column is the grid ID. The second is longitude, latitude, quantity of land, quantity of nitrogen fertilizer, groundwater, surface water, crop, labor, water equipment. As you see, these are the variables. So you can export these to any geospatial application that can work with longitude and latitude, and you can visualize it yourself. But this one is interactive, so you can have this one. We look at the quantity of groundwater extraction, and this is in terms of the percentage change in different locations. So, for example, in Ogallala, Akufa, at some locations you have 38% reduction. X is the longitude, Y is latitude, and Z is the variable. And you can also zoom in and look at different results, different locations if you are interested. You can also save the results as PNG files or other image formats that you like. So this one is one example. If you run experiment, you want to have it for a publication, you can just change distributor notebook, make it more professional, and then see the results here. These are other variables. So this is Q crop, which is the quantity of crop produced at each location. And the same philosophy, you can zoom in, look at the percentage changes here. And these visualizations are important if you want to see outliers at some locations, if what is going on, why there are higher responses or lower responses. And finally, these are different methods for visualization, but there are comparison side by side of the figures. And if you want to see if the change in groundwater withdrawal is highly linearly correlated with change in crop production, for example. And again, for surface water withdrawal, you can compare them and see if they are linked together or not. As you see, groundwater withdrawal declines are much higher than changes in surface water. Or irrigation efficiency is the same, rain-fed conversion. So I go to the decomposition at the end because I want to have some time for discussion. So this is the decomposition. I showed you the adaptation part in the presentation. So adaptation means how much of the change is coming from substitution or relocation or conversion to rain-fed and others. So this code can help you producing some of the maps regarding the adaptation and the final impact. Yeah, if you are interested, there are useful resources here on Simple G book webpage, courses, YouTube videos, and then different scenarios. I will stop here, and if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. All right, as you're thinking about your questions, I can go back to my slides. These are some other references for telecoupling, metacoupling, and other topics if you are interested. All right.
Thank you very much, Iman, for that very nice comprehensive overview of multiple research studies as well as the simple G model and its capabilities, and also the research workflow in action you just demonstrated. I think there's a comment slash question from the chat. Going back to the discussion earlier, the response from remote locations is desirable, right? That was one. Can you see the chat?
Yes, yes, I can see that. Yes, thank you. So the these are mostly in terms of positive analysis compared to normative analysis. So in economics, when we talk about positive, we talk about what is going to happen, what exists. Normative economics is about, is it desirable or not? That usually requires putting some objectives in terms of, for example, is malnutrition good or bad? Or is sustainability good or bad? Usually, when we talk about resilience, we say resilience is desirable, less volatility is desirable, less malnutrition is desirable, more sustainability is desirable. So if the shock that we have in the system or the policy that we are going to implement will contribute positively to these positive metrics that we have, then yes, those are desirable. And yes, going back to the normative versus positive analysis, we just want to say these are the things that are going to happen. The decision to make a policy or not is will be a lot of analysis behind that too. So the second question,
I think that was a comment.
okay,
It's
yeah,
really
this
kudos
is,
to what you've done.
oh, thank you. That was very, very nice comment. Thanks for your kind comments.
And this is getting recorded, and the recording will be available within a week or so on the iGuide project website, and feel free to check back. All the past VCO recordings are actually available on a page. If you search iGuide VCO, you should be able to get to that page. And the resources, especially the page Iman just showed, should be very useful with a good collection of links.
All right. I also wanted to thank you for the opportunity and for your time to attend this VCO.
Yeah, if you stop sharing your slide deck, Iman, that will allow us to see everyone if anyone want to turn on their camera to ask any questions or share any knowledge or experience you've had in the context here. We'd be happy to continue this conversation for a few more minutes. Yeah, Abhishek.
No, no, thank you.
Please, if you have any questions in the future, please reach out. You have my email, the first slide, and also the book is free, open access available. But feel free to reach out to our team or myself, and I am glad to help if I can help.
Yeah, I think thanks very much again, Iman. You definitely covered a fertile field with a lot of exciting research going on, and certainly what you showed at the end, the iGuide platform has enabled you to do this interactive computing for your modeling analytics work with visualization. That was really impressive. But also the notebooks are connected with the data and the publication you had that allows you and the community we have here to be able to navigate through such a rich set of knowledge elements. So really appreciate your demonstration there. I think this concludes the formal part of the virtual consulting office here for today. Please feel free to run away or stay here for a few more minutes to connect with each other. But thank you all for your participation in today's VCO. Again, feel free to connect with us. Go to the iGuide project website, the front page, get registered for any news, any events we are offering, and also let us know what other topics you might want us to consider for our future VCO sessions. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Good to see you, Stuart, and Abhishek as well.